Okay, I'm back. That thing cut me off, so I had to delete a bunch of things from the trash can and make room. So it looks like I'll be starting at this part again. Let me just do the dream part again. I'll start with that. So that would be, so the first one is just going to be chapter 1. This is going to be a series today of videos here. So, okay, I don't know yet how many it's going to be. I'm doing the whole book, and oh, I couldn't sleep otherwise. It's so good. Okay, so I'll read 2 again. Now, in the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was so troubled that his sleep left him. Then the king gave the command to call the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to tell the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king, and the king said to them, I have had a dream, and my spirit is anxious to know the dream. Then the Chaldeans spoke to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will give the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, My decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me and its interpretation, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made an ash heap. However, if you tell the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive from me gifts, rewards, and great honor. Therefore, tell me the dream and its interpretation. They answered again and said, Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will give its interpretation. The king answered and said, I know for certain that you would gain time, because you see that my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me, there is only one decree for you have agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me till the time has changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can give me its interpretation. So, in a way, I mean, he does have a point. He's being kind of harsh, obviously. Uh, but the reasoning isn't too bad. I mean, he can give a dream, and anyone can say, "Oh yes, king, the dream means this, 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 and that." Maybe, maybe not. What do you know, right? But if they're really getting inspiration from a supernatural divine source, right, then that same source should be able to give them not only the interpretation but the dream as well, if they're really an outside divine supernatural source. So he just wants to make sure he's getting the real deal and not just some hooey and hogwash that they're drumming up for their career. So, you know, that's a legitimate concern, of course. So anyway, they are sweating because, they're like, oh no, now what are we going to do, right? Okay, so 10. The Chaldeans answered the king and said, There is not a man on earth who can tell the king's matter. Therefore, no king, lord, or ruler has ever asked such things of any magician, astrologer, or Chaldean. It is a difficult thing that the king requests, and there is no other who can tell it to the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. Okay, but again, All right, 12. For this reason the king was angry and very furious, and gave the command to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree went out, and they began killing the wise men and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. See, they never asked Daniel yet. That's the thing. Then, with counsel and wisdom, Daniel answered Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, who had gone out to kill the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, "Why is the decree from the king so urgent?" Then Arioch made the decision known to Daniel. So Daniel went in and asked the king to give him time that he might tell the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the decision known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they might seek mercies from the God of heaven concerning the secret, so that Daniel and his companions might not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision. So Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, "Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and raises up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. He reveals deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, O God of my fathers. You have given me wisdom and might, and have now made known to me what we asked of you, for you have made known to us the king's demand." Okay, so God revealed it to Daniel, both the dream and the interpretation, because he is actually God. See, he can do these things, and Daniel was in connection with him, so he can request this and get a response, and here it is. He has his answer. So now 24. Therefore Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus to him, "Do not destroy the wise men of Babylon. Take me before the king, and I will tell the king the interpretation." And what's interesting about this is Daniel kind of sticks his neck out here to save all their lives, He actually didn't want to see these people die, Okay, 25, even if, but anyway, so 25. Then Arioch quickly brought Daniel before the king and said thus to him, "I have found a man of the captives of Judah who will make known to the king the interpretation." The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, "Are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen and its interpretation?" Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, "The secret which the king has demanded, the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, and the soothsayers cannot declare to the king. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will be in the latter days." So this was an opportunity for testimony, right? You can see that, right? "Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed were these. As for you, O king, thoughts came to your mind while on your bed about what would come to pass after this, and he who reveals secrets has made known to you what will be. But as for me, this secret has not been revealed to me because I have more wisdom than anyone living, but for our sakes who make known the interpretation to the king, and that you may know the thoughts of your heart. You, O king, were watching And behold, a great image, this great image, whose splendor was excellent, stood before you, and its form was awesome. This image's head was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. You watched while a stone was cut out without hands, which struck the image on its feet of iron and clay and broke them in pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were crushed together and became like chaff from the summer threshing floors. The wind carried them away so that no trace of them was found. And the stone that struck the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Okay, so this relates exactly to what I was saying yesterday from Zechariah, that whole thing with the capstone and, how it hits this thing and destroys it and takes over the whole earth. So you would have to watch those videos to see that, but I will get to something else today that I didn't talk about yesterday. Okay, now he gives the interpretation. 36. This is the dream. Now we will tell the interpretation of it before the king. You, O king, are a king of kings, for the God of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. And wherever the children of men dwell, or the beasts of the field and the birds of the heaven, he has given them into your hand and has made you ruler over them all. You are this head of gold. But after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to yours, then another, a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, inasmuch as iron breaks in pieces and shatters everything. And like iron that crushes, that kingdom will break in pieces and crush all the others. Whereas you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, yet the strength of the iron shall be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay, and as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of these kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Inasmuch as you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God has made known to the king what will come to pass after this. The dream is certain, and its interpretation is sure. Okay, so I'll get to the notes here, but this is what I was saying with like the capstone is the stone that comes and crushes the system, the whole world system. And I know I talked about this somewhere, but okay, like these were world empires. Okay, so the Babylon one, I guess next was the Persia one, and there was a Greek one and a Roman one, and they were world empires. And then the leg thing is like, to me, it's split in two, and that goes on for a while. And then you have the feet and the toes. Well, at the very end, it's just a sequence, right? And at the very end is the toes. He was the head. The last is the toes. The toes are split in 10. because at the end time, which is now, okay, but there'll be 10 kingdoms in Revelation. It says that those are the 10 toes of this. It'll be a world empire, another global, you know what. So that will be there, and that's what's there when Jesus returns, and the stone without hands comes and crushes everything and sets up his kingdom, which is the mountain that grows and takes over. The illustration I made yesterday in Zechariah. So that's it, and it hits it at the toe, at the feet. But what happens then is the whole thing comes crumbling down, because without feet it can't stand, and it all gets turned to pulver, is what the vision says. So the whole thing is crushed, basically the whole world system, and then he sets up his kingdom in the end and takes dominion over the whole earth, and then you get the millennial reign. So again, it all ties together. Now, okay, I'll get to my notes, but I just wanted to give that. I did that somewhere, but I just wanted to go over that again, and then I'll read this, and then I'll go over the notes, okay? And that'll be it for this one. And then 3 is a whole other, you'll see. Okay, so 46. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face, prostrate before Daniel, and commanded that they should present an offering and incense to him. The king answered Daniel and said, "Truly your God is the God of gods, the Lord of lords, the Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, since you could reveal this secret." So isn't that a great testimony? Then the king promoted Daniel and gave him many great gifts, just like he said back there, the person who can do this, I'll give them all this stuff. So then the king promoted Daniel and gave him many great gifts, and he made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and chief administrator over all the wise men of Babylon. Ooh, right? And this kind of reminds me of the thing with Joseph. Joseph was in exile, and then he's promoted to second in charge, and it's a type of Christ, like the Father and the Son. So it's kind of also, it could be a type of this in that way. All right, so 49. Also, Daniel petitioned the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king. So that was a great turnout, right? Okay, now I'm going to go over these notes before I do chapter 3, or maybe okay. No, okay, I'll just do chapter 3. What are we on? 18. Okay, I'll just keep going. Maybe I'll combine it all after all. Okay, chapter 3. Now, as happy as Nebuchadnezzar is, he's a man, and the flesh gets a hold of him. And here's what he does. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold. Now notice, this image is all gold. Now Daniel interpreted the dream, and there were different kingdoms. This is like saying he wants to be the ruler of the empire the whole time. Basically, every age he wants to rule the world, right? So this is what was in his heart. No, I'm going to be the king of all of it, and it's all going to be gold because that represents me. So anyway, an image of gold, whose height was, now look at this, whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. Okay? So you have to picture this. If the height is 60 cubits and its width is 6 cubits, what is its length? It could be different, but it could also be 6. It's a 3-dimensional image, so it has to have a length. And many times it would be like, round in a way. It wouldn't be like really wide, and then, but it could be, we don't know. But there's a possibility that the other number was also a 6, right? So then you'd have 3 sixes. So this is all coming in symbolism here. Okay. All right. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. So we have Babylon, right? That thing. And King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So here we see he's getting ready for a ceremony. He's going to dedicate this bad boy, okay? And that's what, is going to be going on here. So the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that, now these are all like heads of state types here, So this reminds me of something else. Okay, I'll get there. Before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, O peoples," so it's everybody in the end, okay? "O peoples, nations, and languages, that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace." So at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, flute, harp, and lyre in symphony with all kinds of music, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the gold image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So here, Daniel isn't there and the others don't do it, but I'll get to that. But so here, this is all symbolic of the end times, okay? And this is the kind of thing that's going to be happening. And there is going to be some kind of major dedicational thing, ceremony, and they might call it the onset of their idea of utopia, kingdom kind of stuff, revival kind of stuff. There'll probably be all kinds of music too, only it won't be God ordained music. And I talked about that before, but it's interesting how much manipulation goes on by music, but that's another video. So this is what's happening, and all these people come, and there's a command, just like in the end times. What is there in the end times? The image of the beast, right? The image of the Antichrist. It will probably be one of those projected 3D images that they have the technology to do now. Anyway, and like that happens in there too, where the false prophet will say, whoever doesn't worship the Antichrist in his image or take the mark and all that will be executed. Same thing. It's just a picture of all that. It's a type of it. It's like a prophecy kind of thing here. So anyway, that's what's happening. Okay, so now therefore, all at that time, certain Chaldeans came forward and accused the Jews. So there'll always be a betrayer out there, They spoke and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the gold image, and whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up. And it's like, you got that right. All right. Now, then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they brought these men before the king. Now notice again, Daniel isn't even there. And I'll get to that, what that's a type of later in my list here. All right, before the king, Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up? And then he gives them another chance. Watch. Now, if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Okay, so it's like, yeah, just, the devil comes, just reconsider, we'll let it go just as long as you do it, right? Okay, so, and who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? So I guess he hasn't learned that lesson yet, right? Okay, so 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar. I like how they don't say, O king. Anyway, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. So I love it. They are bold. They just say it. We don't serve your gods. We won't worship this idol or any of that. And our God is able to deliver us. And in one place they say, even if he won't, we're still not going to worship this image. So they just say it straight up. Anyway. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed towards Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, this sort of, to me, looks a little bit like, when somebody gets influenced by demonic powers. So, and these people that are power crazy, they have that. Oh boy. Anyway, okay. So he spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. So he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, True, O king. Look, he answered, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, and now he's kind of like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. All of a sudden, he's nice, right? Anyway, and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. And the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. So, oh, and I was going to say this. Okay, I was going to mention this, and I don't know, it slipped by, but up here in verse 18 was where they said, He'll deliver us, but if not, let it be known to you, O king, that, so like even if he doesn't deliver us, even if we perish, we're still not going to serve your gods. We're still not going to compromise. And today that translates into we're still not going to deny Jesus no matter what happens to us. Okay, that's the lesson for the church today. Okay, so yeah, I thought that was in here and that's where it was. Okay, so now Nebuchadnezzar changes his tune quite a bit. Nebuchadnezzar, so 28, Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him, and they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God. He kind of downplays the fact that, they were delivered from his own hand. But anyway, 29. Therefore, I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. So, boy, he spins on a dime and does a 180, doesn't he? Now all of a sudden he's an advocate of God. He still needs to go a little further, because it should just be because there is no other God, period. But he doesn't quite go that far. It's just no God who can deliver like this. Well, of course nobody can deliver like that. But anyway, he came pretty far, though. I mean, you got to give him credit here. But he's probably has his knees knocking too, like, oh boy, I'm next. Okay, 30. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So now they all get promoted. Okay, now before I go on here, I'm going to get the notes out. This is all about the image. Okay, so I'm going to make this small. So the gold statue of King Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel 3. So I'll just read it. In Daniel's dream, it is only the head of the statue that is of gold and represents King Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. But in him making a statue that is all out of gold, it is like he is saying, no, all the world empires are mine and my kingdom is eternal. So he wants to rule the world, that kind of thing. And is an act of ego. He is also a type of the Antichrist in many ways. The statue is also a type. Okay, so here we have bullet points. A type of the image, idol, of the beast set up by the false prophet, so the Antichrist. I should add that up here, the Antichrist, okay? In Revelation 13 is all that stuff, so it connects to that, okay? So a type of the image, it's all an idol, image of the beast or Antichrist set up by the false prophet to be worshipped by all or else, right? And next, a symbol of the human potential movement, secular humanism and any other terms that goes by, that unlimited potential thing, you know. It's the worship of man is what it is. So it's a symbol of that, and you can see that in these movements. They'll always have some elevated image of a man in some way. This was one of those things. Okay, next. It's political in that all nations and peoples were called to its dedication. So it was all these peoples and nations. It was political. It was, you could say, global at the time in that empire. So you have that, and worship, so that comes into this. Religious, in that all are called to worship it at the sound of music. Okay, and it's in Dura, a plain in Babylon, and in Revelation there's all that stuff about Babylon, and then you have the Tower of Babel, which was in the plain of Shinar, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, next, the economic part, and that it relates to this. It was 60 cubits high, 6 cubits in width, and length would be probably another 6, and it would be a type of the 666, right, in Revelation 13. So, anyway, there's that, and then we have the people who refused to worship it were betrayed by those around them, and that happens in the end too. People will betray Christians, even by the brethren sometimes. King Nebuchadnezzar's countenance changed toward the 3 friends of Daniel, and he ordered them executed. So, and then in the end, we have the devil enters the Antichrist, and that's kind of alluded to. But anyway, he orders saints killed for the same thing, for refusing to worship that stuff. Okay. The 3 friends refuse, which is like, you know, true believers will refuse these things. They are thrown into the fiery furnace, but Jesus appears with them, and they are delivered from, in this case, from death. But I've read many cases, accounts of martyrs, and it isn't the martyrs because they've passed away, but the people around them have recorded this, that they seem to be delivered from the pain of what's being inflicted upon them. So he is with us in these things, okay, and that's a very important fact to know. I've read many accounts like that, so it's a thing, okay. All right, their witness has power to win others over, right? That's what happened in that case. All right, now, Daniel is not present, and he is a type of the 144,000 who happened to be in hiding at that time. So that's what it's a type of. It's not a type of the rapture, okay? The 3 friends are the type of the church there. His 3 friends are a type of the church which is going to experience these events. We are martyred, but Jesus is with us through it all. Okay, and so that's what this is all a type of. There may be more little goodies hidden in there, but more or less that's what that's about. So now, I'll stop this video and I'll start the next one in chapter 4. I'll be right back.